people ask about improving their focus, improving their memory, improving how their comprehension for what they read. And I would say start with the right questions, because we have anywhere from 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And a lot of those thoughts come in the form of questions. And so when you think about what thinking is this process of asking and answering questions inside our own mind. And if you're asking yourself, is that true? Notice you had to ask a question to think about it, right? So that's positive proof. So a lot of these 50, 70,000 thoughts a day are questions. And I believe that there are some questions you ask more than others. They're dominant questions. Maybe you have 1, 2, or 3 that you ask consciously and unconsciously throughout the day. And the reason why it's important is, we've talked about this, is your brain is primarily a deletion device. Let me say that again. Your brain is primarily a deletion device. It's trying to keep information out, because if it paid attention to everything, you would go insane, right? There's a billion stimuli we could be paying attention to. So what gets through that filter? The things that we care about, the things we're interested in, and things we ask questions about, because we have part of our brain, and we do a whole thing on brain anatomy in the book, because I want you to know how limitless your superpowers really are, and part of your brain called a reticular activating system, RAS, simple to remember. It really determines what you're going to focus on, and it gets activated by your questions. And so, as an example, I remember years ago, my sister would send me pictures and photographs, emails with this specific kind of breed of dog. It's a pug dog. They have a pug dog in Men in Black, but I didn't know. My question was like, why is she sending me all these pictures of pugs? And then I realized that her birthday was coming up. So she's a great marketer.
Dropping those hints.
Yeah, exactly. And so she was seeding all those, but I started asking a question about these pugs, and then guess what? I started seeing pugs everywhere. I would go to the grocery store, the health food store, and I would be checking out, and somebody's in front of me is holding a pug dog checking out. I'd be jogging in my neighborhood, and I swear to you, I saw a guy walking 6 pug dogs. And my question for everyone who's listening is, did the pug dogs just magically appear one day? No, of course not. They were always there, but they were not important to me because I wasn't asking the questions. They were part of that billion stimuli I was trying to keep out of my mind that I wasn't paying attention to. Now, here's the thing. What are your questions? What are the questions you're asking all the time that are bringing certain things into your life? And it's like an algorithm. I talk about it in the book, where it's like, you're programming yourself. It's like when you're going through Instagram or Facebook, everything you like and share. Have you ever noticed, like, you start, liking a lot of cat videos or whatever, they start feeding you more cat videos, right? But our brains are the same way. If we start looking at, sometimes it's a scary time. We live in some very, turbulent times, and if the media is hijacking your amygdala to focus on fear, and you start looking at it all the time, your brain, you just start looking for threats everywhere, and that's all you see, and you delete everything you'd be grateful for. You delete all the opportunity. You delete, all the magic also in life. I'm not saying don't focus on things that can be threatening at all, but I'm saying, what are you asking questions about that dictate your focus? One of the ways of finding your dominant question is just to listen to your own voice. Another way is like journaling or meditating, because you see certain themes that come up constantly. So I took my friend through a process, and we found out her dominant question that she asks all the time is, how do I get people to like me? How do I get people to like me? Now, everyone listening, you don't know her age, you don't know her background, you don't know her job, you don't know what she looks like, her ethnicity, you don't know anything about her, but you know a lot about her. Like, if somebody is obsessed with asking the question, how do I get people to like me? What's her life? What's her personality like? That person is going to be a sycophant, right? They're going to be people-pleasing all the time. They're going to be martyring themselves. People are going to take advantage of them. Their personality is always going to change depending on who they're spending time with, because they're going to, talk about the same kind of interests and have the same kind of values, right? They're going to have low self-esteem, and all that, and you only know one question she asks herself. That's it. And my question for everybody listening is, what's your dominant question? What's the question you're thinking about all the time that's keeping you maybe limited, right? And how can you upgrade those questions to be more limitless? Let me give you an example. When you mentioned Will Smith, I help actors to speed read scripts, memorize their lines, focus better. With Will Smith, I was spending the entire day with him in Toronto, and he was shooting from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
So which movie was it?
So this was Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So it was winter time, and it was very cold out. But we found out his dominant question before we went to go shoot is how do I make this moment even more magical? Actually, before it was how do I make this moment magical? And then we played with it, like how can we make that even enhance that? Well, let's make it even more magical because it presumes it's already magical, right? And I was like, wow, that's a powerful question. And later that night, shooting, and everyone thinks that Hollywood is very glamorous, but you know this, it's a grind. Yeah, it is. It's just waiting all the time and just like wait, hurry up to just wait right around. And we're on set, and it's a night shoot, and it's tough. It's like 2:00 in the morning. His family from West Philly, you all know the song, is there, and we're outside, and they're not shooting. And I asked him, I was like, how do you get ready? Like we're waiting here for hours for you to go on camera, and when for the director to bring you back on, how do you get ready? He was like, Jim, I don't have to get ready, I stay ready. I'm like, whoa, it's good to be Will Smith, right? He's about determination. He does the work. And because I believe the life you live are the lessons you teach. The life you live are the lessons you teach others. It's not what you say, it's what you show, right? It's not what you promise, it's what you prove to other people. And so it was interesting because we're all cold out there watching these little monitors of what they're filming, and he starts to bring people blankets, and he starts to make hot chocolate for everybody and bring it to us, and he starts cracking jokes and telling stories. He was living his dominant question of how do I make this moment even more magical? I mean, it was beautiful. And so my thing for everybody here is be conscious of your thoughts, because thoughts are things, and what you ask for, you will receive. For example, I introduced 3 questions in here that I think everyone should obsess about in order to take knowledge and turn it into real action. One of the 7 lies that I talk about, and I lie when in mindset, I refer to a lie as an acronym. It stands for limited idea entertained. These are not truths. These are just ideas we're entertaining, giving energy, but they're not necessarily true. Like, that we use, 10% of our brain. That's a lie. That intelligence is fixed. Like, you take an IQ test when you're 8, and that's what your IQ is going to be when you're 88. That's absolutely false. So I debunked these lies, the BS, these belief systems, right? But going back to the power of questions, there are 3 questions that I ask myself to take knowledge into power, because one of the lies is knowledge alone is power, and we know it's not. At best, it's potential power. It only becomes power when you use it. I have a shirt that says knowledge times action equals power. And so 3 questions to turn knowledge into power. Number 1, these should be your dominant learning questions. Number 1, how can I use this? If you read this book or you listened to this podcast and started asking yourself, how can I use this? How can I use this? How can I use this? You're going to come up with a lot of answers. There are a lot of pug dogs that are sitting in this book, that are sitting in this conversation, that are sitting in your life, right? So how can I use this? Number 2, the second question you want to ask often to take knowledge and turn it into real power so you can be limitless is, why must I use this? Why must I use this? Because here's the success formula. You can have things in your head, a goal, a vision for your life, a plan in your head, but not act with your hands. Got to check in with the second H, which is your heart. Head, heart, hands. Go back to why. Ask your why. And so why must I use this? Because if there's no reason, you won't get the result. Reasons reap results. Reasons reap rewards. So find your why to use it. Otherwise you won't. Even when it's remembering names. If you don't have a reason to remember someone's name, you won't. Right? No one remembers everyone's name, but some people remember some people's names, and there's probably some why. They're attracted to that person, or that person will be good for their business. So find your why. And then finally, the third question after, how can I use this? Why must I use this? Third question is, when will I use this? When will I use this? Going back to the most powerful productivity tool you have, which is your calendar. And we talked about, if it's on your calendar, it's on your schedule, it doesn't get done. How can I use this? Why must I use this? when will I use this? Those three questions will allow you to elevate and get to new levels of your learning and your life.